Welcome to Informative Channel. Today, we're exploring the rise of Islam in Egypt, a pivotal moment in history that shaped the region's culture, society, and governance. From the arrival of Muslim forces in the 7th century to the transformation of Egypt into a center of Islamic civilization, let's uncover this fascinating journey. The rise of Islam in Egypt, a journey through time. Egypt, a land of ancient wonders and historical grandeur, has been a cradle of civilization for millennia. From the great pharaohs who built towering pyramids to the Hellenistic influence under Alexander the Great, the sands of Egypt have witnessed the rise and fall of empires. Yet, among the most transformative moments in its history was the arrival and rise of Islam, a faith that reshaped Egypt's cultural, political, and spiritual landscape. Egypt before Islam. The story of Egypt begins long before the advent of Islam. It is one of the earliest centers of civilization, with recorded history dating back over 5,000 years. The ancient Egyptians built monumental pyramids, developed hieroglyphic writing, and laid the foundations for what would later become one of the greatest civilizations in human history. Over centuries, Egypt came under the control of several empires, from the Persians to the Greeks and then the Romans. By the 1st century BCE, Egypt was under Roman rule, eventually transitioning into the Byzantine Empire. Under Byzantine control, Christianity spread rapidly, and Egypt became a major center of Christian thought, particularly in Alexandria. The Coptic Church, one of the oldest Christian denominations, flourished, and despite persecution from imperial authorities at times, Christianity was deeply rooted in Egyptian society. However, the dominance of Byzantium was not to last forever. The arrival of Islam emerged in the Arabian Peninsula in the 7th century under the Prophet Muhammad. After his death in 632 CE, his followers embarked on a series of military campaigns known as the Islamic Conquests. These campaigns spread Islam rapidly across the Middle East and North Africa. Egypt was conquered by the Muslim general Amr ibn al-As in 641 CE, during the Caliphate of Umar ibn al-Khattab. The conquest was relatively swift, with the Muslim forces defeating the Byzantine army and taking control of Alexandria, Egypt's most important city at the time. The transition was significant but largely peaceful in comparison to other conquests. Amr ibn al-As established Fustat, the first Islamic capital in Egypt, which later became part of Cairo. The spread of Islam in Egypt. Initially, Egypt remained a largely Christian majority land. However, over the centuries, Islam gradually became the dominant religion. There were several reasons for this. Jizya tax and conversion. Non-Muslims, primarily Christians and Jews, were required to pay a tax called jizya, while Muslims paid zakat. Many Egyptians converted to Islam over time to avoid the tax and to gain social and economic benefits. Intermarriage and cultural integration. As more Arabs settled in Egypt, intermarriage between Arabs and native Egyptians facilitated the spread of Islamic culture and beliefs. The role of Arabic. With the gradual adoption of Arabic as the official language of administration and trade, the connection between Islam and Egyptian identity deepened. Arabic became the language of the people, the state, and religious practice. Islamic governance and infrastructure. Successive Islamic dynasties, from the Umayyads to the Abbasids, the Fatimids, and the Mamluks, further integrated Islamic rule into Egypt's institutions. Mosques, madrasas, Islamic schools, and Islamic courts flourished, helping solidify Islam as the dominant faith. Islamic dynasties in Egypt. Egypt played a crucial role in the broader Islamic world throughout the Middle Ages. The Fatimid Caliphate, which established Cairo in 969 CE, made Egypt a center of Shia Islam for a time. However, with the rise of the Ayyubid dynasty under Salah al-Din, Saladin, Egypt returned to Sunni orthodoxy and became a base for defending the Muslim world against the Crusaders. The Mamluks, former slave soldiers who took control in the 13th century, ruled Egypt for centuries and made it one of the most powerful states in the Islamic world. Cairo became a center of Islamic scholarship, home to Al-Azhar University, which remains one of the most influential Islamic institutions today. Egypt under the Ottomans and modernization. In 1517, the Ottoman Empire conquered Egypt, making it a provincial capital within its vast domain. While Egypt retained some autonomy, it largely followed Ottoman policies and was an integral part of the broader Islamic world. However, by the 19th century, under the rule of Muhammad Ali Pasha, Egypt embarked on a modernization campaign that introduced Western-style reforms, including military, economic, and educational changes. This led to a complex relationship between Islam and modernization, as Egyptian society grappled with how to integrate Islamic traditions with new global influences. The 20th century, nationalism and Islam. The 20th century saw dramatic changes in Egypt's Islamic identity. British colonial rule, followed by independence, led to the rise of nationalism and pan-Arabism under figures like Gamal Abdel Nasser. While Egypt remained an Islamic country, Nasser's secular policies limited the role of Islam in government. However, the latter half of the century saw the rise of political Islam, with groups like the Muslim Brotherhood advocating for a more Islamic governance model. After the fall of Hosni Mubarak in 2011, Egypt experienced political upheaval. The short-lived presidency of Mohammed Morsi, a member of the Muslim Brotherhood, brought Islamism to the forefront, but his removal in 2013 led to a renewed emphasis on state control over religious institutions. The Islamic landscape in 2025. Today, in 2025, Egypt remains a deeply Islamic nation, but its religious and political landscape continues to evolve. The government, under President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, has maintained tight control over religious discourse, emphasizing a moderate interpretation of Islam while cracking down on extremist elements. Al-Azhar University remains one of the most respected authorities on Sunni Islam, playing a role in shaping religious thought across the Muslim world. However, challenges remain, including debates over religious freedoms, the role of Islam in governance, and the continued presence of Islamist movements. Despite these tensions, Egypt's Islamic identity remains strong. Friday prayers continue to be a vital part of social life, and Islamic traditions are deeply embedded in daily activities, from business transactions to family life. While modernization and globalization have influenced urban areas, rural Egypt retains more conservative Islamic practices. Looking ahead, Egypt's Islamic future will likely be shaped by a balance between tradition and reform. With technological advancements and increasing global interactions, debates over women's rights, religious minorities, and political Islam will continue to shape the nation's religious trajectory. However, Egypt's historical role as a leader in the Muslim world ensures that Islam will remain at the heart of its identity. Conclusion: the rise of Islam in Egypt is a story of transformation, resilience, and adaptation. From its conquest by Amr ibn al-As in the 7th century to its position as a modern Islamic powerhouse in 2025, Egypt has remained central to the Islamic world. As it moves forward, Egypt's ability to navigate the complexities of religion, politics, and modernization will define its future. But one thing is certain: Islam, in its many forms, will continue to shape the soul of Egypt for generations to come. That brings us to the end of our discussion on the rise of Islam in Egypt. The impact of Islam on Egypt's history, language, and identity remains profound to this day. If you found this video informative, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Informative channel for more historical insights. See you in the next video.